Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the June 10th, 2024 regular meeting of council to order at 6 p.m. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, I will call on Councillor Hallerou for consent agenda adoption, please.
Thank you. Through you, move by myself, Councillor Hallerou, seconded by Councillor Veckert and Boston, that the items contained in June 10th, 2024 consent agenda be adopted as presented.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And Councillor Veckert and Boston's the May 13th regular meeting minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Wilson, that the minutes of the May 13th, 2024 regular meeting of council be adopted as presented.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And Deputy Mayor Wilson, the May 14th, 2024 special meeting minutes, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Bowman, that the minutes of the May 14th, 2024 special meeting of council be adopted as presented.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And we'll now turn into staff report, special staff reports. And number one is the FlashVote dog park survey results. Mr. Graves, please.
I think I'm going to turn this one directly over to Kyle.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. In front of you, you have a pretty self-explanatory report from the second FlashVote survey that we've conducted in the municipality. The results of the survey are in the report, but some things to highlight are trails, and the development of trails and the use of our trails continues to be extremely important to members of this community. So the continuance of the trails vision and expanding of the trail network continues to come up as something that the community is really interested in. So that's something important to note. The other thing important to note is of individual preference of where money should be spent for the municipality. The dog park received the highest at 18%. So essentially because of this, staff are recommending proceeding with the division of the park as outlined in the report to help address some of the safety concerns that were also brought up as part of the report. There's plenty of funds. I think there's about $10,000 in the dog park reserve funds. The quote's only for $6,000 to be able to do the fence, so there should be plenty of monies to be able to complete the fencing and the repairs to the fencing at the park. Other than that, that's the report in a nutshell, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions of the report? Councillor Hughes.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you. I have a couple of questions, but stop me if somebody else has any other questions. Number one, who's going to determine the what constitutes a small dog and a large dog?
So to answer that question, we would rely on what other municipalities have developed and reach out to them and modify rules that would be similar to ours. There would be no active enforcement, so it would be kind of how trail guidelines and stuff are now, that we hope that people will follow the rules, but it's not as if there'll be anyone actively out there directing you which area to go in, so it would have to be self-governed, but we would set the rules out for entrance of each section to the dog park based upon what our counterparts are also doing in other municipalities.
Excellent, thank you. So on your map here, you're showing existing entrances and new entrances. Are you going to keep the existing and add the new, or are you going to eliminate those existing entrances?
We would keep, so for clarification, at the top left entrance, that's an existing entrance. That would stay as the entrance to the small dog area, and then we'd add another entrance, as you see at the bottom in the middle, for a second entrance or exit to the small dog park area, and then we'd be adding a new entrance exit right beside that to enter the large area, and then there's an existing one at bottom right that would remain, that would be an entrance and exit into the large dog park area. And then adding of a 10-foot gate in the middle so that mowers can get through so that we can continue to do maintenance.
And one more, unless somebody else has got one. I was just going to ask about the signage. Now you're saying you're going to be, there's also going to be some new signage put up in regards to use at your own risk and something about food as well, I believe.
There is already signage up there now from incidences that happened in the past in regards to bringing of food to the park. So there's already notices that are up at the park. As we separate the sections, that signage will have to be added to both sides. But there is signage there now that spoke to the issues we've had in the past.
Councillor Bowman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for clarification, Kyle, on the, did I hear you say that the fencing was going to be about $6,000? Is that the 4475 with HST? Is that where you were coming from?
Yes, and then there's also some repairs to existing fence that were in there that I'm estimating on
Okay.
how much it will cost.
Yeah, I just wondered, I just wanted clarification on
Yeah.
that. Thanks, Kyle.
Further questions? Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens.
Thank you for bringing the report, Kyle. There was a lot of good feedback in here. I took the time to read through every comment, and I'm really kind of hoping that the feedback is going to get spread out to all of our different committees, because I think there was a little bit for everybody in there. There were some for trails, there were some for bicycling, like everything. So to me, the flash vote has done what it needed to do in bringing forth the information that we needed. So I wanted to thank you. I don't necessarily have a question, but I just wanted to say thank you, because I think that this is what we wanted. We wanted the feedback, and that's what we got. So thank you.
Further questions? See, Councillor Hudson, please.
It's not really a question. I just thought in the past somebody had asked if perhaps a plaque could be put up for volunteers that were involved with the creating of it. And I know there's a reason why it particularly can't be. I'm just wondering if that could be explained publicly for people so they know.
Mr. Graves.
Yes, thank you. Well, a request was made about individuals that contributed, but apparently it's difficult to get a list of the names of the people that contributed. So we would have to put a plaque up that says just volunteers in general, and a lot of the facilities that we have in town were created by volunteers, especially a lot of the items that we have that are historical. So there would be sort of no end to things that we would have to post plaques up for to say that volunteers created this. So it'd be our recommendation that we not put up something that, unless it specifically identifies individuals and who contributed and participated.
Councillor Bowman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to back up what our CAO has said. I know in anything that I've been involved with, whenever we put up plaques of recognition, we've at the very least had to have the committee members, if not the volunteers that were directly involved. So I agree. I have to support what our CAO says about the recognition.
Further question? Councillor Hudson, please.
So just wanted to follow up with that. So if there were a list of the people that were on the committee and a list of all the volunteers that participated, then it could be possible?
I would say yes.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Seeing none. I believe there is a motion. Is it Councillor Bowman? Or that's...
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, Councillor Bowman, seconded by Councillor Hudson, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive report CS-015-24 as information, and that Council agrees to the division of the current dog park into a big dog and small dog area as outlined in the report using the dog park reserve funds.
Discussion. I'll just say that I think that we did have a we did have a delegation here requesting such, but I think it was important, and we did, like Councilor Van Kooten-Bosens says, we received a lot of valuable information as part of this and the rest of the flash vote that can be used for future items, and so it certainly it showed that it was a more of a groundswell there to having one that's done, and so we can all feel comfortable coming to that decision. I'm fully supportive of the recommendation in the report. Any further comments? All's in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And now we will head to number 2, which is 50 Newman Street surplus declaration. Graves, please.
I'm going to turn this one directly over to Curtis.
So basically, this report is in regards to direction received from council at the last meeting in closed session in order to adhere to our bylaw 084429, a bylaw established for the sale of real property. It's advisable that council declare the land surplus in order to provide ample notice to the public. Staff first advertised the RFP that was created on May 28th. So we've exceeded the notice requirements for declaring it surplus. This is just the formal portion of council declaring it surplus. The report outlines some other stuff, some other information regarding the sale of the property and some challenges that we've recently seen. I'm happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Thank you very much. Questions in the report? Seeing none. Just 1 second, I'm just going to clarify with our CAO. Perfect. With that, then, if there's no questions, I will ask Councillor Hudson for a resolution, please.
Thank you. Through you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Roos, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive staff report ED-014-024 as information, and that Council declares the following land surplus to the Corporation's needs: Block 4, 5, and Levens Lane, Plan 41M37.
Thank you very much. Discussion.
Sorry, 375.
Oh, sorry. Discussion. Seeing none, I would just say that I think this is a very fair process. I think that the time has come now where it is the time to make those lands surplus. I think we've read in the report that there is the due diligence has been done on the other property, so we can safely say that we have another option. And I think that there's great interest in this property, and this should get us the best result for decision making that we'll consider later. But I thank you for the process there. Further? All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay. And we will now go to 2024 Development Charges Bylaw. Mr. Graves, please.
Yeah, just before I turn this one over to Irina, I'd just like to say a special thanks to our Treasury Department, our clerks, and actually Watson Associates. We had the province threw us an 11th hour wrinkle, and by changing the legislation at the 11th hour, and everybody worked hard to make sure that we could get this still on the agenda and meet the timelines without going through a whole process again. So I'd like to say thank you to everyone. I'll turn it over to Irina.
Thank you, Michael. So the objective of this report is to recommend the approval of the 2024 development charges background study and the new development charges bylaw. So the fees are outlined in the report as well as in the bylaw, which is attached to this report. So staff is recommending to adopt the proposed charges to be in effect as of tonight. And if Council has any questions, I will be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. Questions of the report? Deputy Mayor Wilson, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to staff. Something I had trouble kind of accepting was an increase on residential DCs, assuming that that increase is passed on to the consumer and continues to increase the cost of housing while we're in a housing crisis. So I was just curious if you know if there was any consideration of the impact on residential DCs on the viability of projects, or if you think it will have an impact on the supply or the ability of developers to be able to continue to build affordably, or if you feel like perhaps that's not a consideration we need to be concerned about.
While I agree that the increased development charges will result in the increase in the housing production cost, I'm a little bit skeptical as to the affordability. So because it's a one-time cost, and we are looking at the community as a whole and all our ratepayers base. So the development charges are in existence to recoup that cost associated with growth. And so it's not passed on to everyone in our community. So long-term, it's going to be a positive impact rather than negative. It's a long-term, like if we are talking about affordability, because we're looking at municipal taxes, not increasing municipal taxes, and actually providing better services in our communities that are affordable for everybody.
Mr. Graves.
And if I could just follow up to that, the province at one point had, as most of everyone sitting around the table will recognize, at one point the province had cut back severely on development charges and said that there was only certain things that we could approve. But they quickly realized that if municipalities were to grow and to provide more housing, they needed other tools to be able to create infrastructure. And so they've gone back on that. One easy way for them to fix development charges, of course, would be to provide us with infrastructure dollars, which I would greatly prefer. But unfortunately, we have only so many avenues for revenue, and this is one of them. I'd also like to point out that a big part of our revenues coming from development charges, one of the things that we're funding is the future growth, which includes our MERC. And so being able to pay for a large ticket item like that, that will benefit the new community and the growing community, is one that is pretty directly relatable to development charges. So it's one of the ones that is more appropriate for those future owners. We think these are still relatively small and that they don't change the viability of housing. In my career, I've been around long enough that when houses in this area were selling for less than $200,000, I'm trying to scale it so I don't sound super old, and but it was difficult to build housing for that price, and there was a real viability problem. Now, with housing prices being substantially higher, we think developers are building good quality houses and that this is a minor blip in their cost, and I don't think that will impact the viability. But again, ideally, we would prefer that the province be providing us this funding and that we not have to recoup it this way. But in the interim, our best advice is this is one of your revenue tools, let's utilize it.
Further questions of the report? Seeing none, I will call Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Wilson, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive staff report T-012-24 as information, and that Council adopt the development charge approach to calculate the charges on a uniform town-wide basis for all services within this background study. And further, that Council approve the capital project listing set out in Chapter 5 of the Development Charge Background Study dated April 10th, 2024, as amended, subject to further annual review during the capital budget process. And further, that Council approve the Development Charge Background Study dated April 10th, 2024, as amended. And further, that Council determined that no further public meeting is required. And further, that Council approve the development charge bylaw as set out in Appendix F of the 2024 Development Charge Background Study as attached to Report T-012-24.
Thank you. Discussion. I agree with Deputy Mayor that certainly development charges add to the affordability of a house. Like they're a charge that has to be paid for before when you're building. Unfortunately, municipalities only have a certain amount of revenue tools that they can use, and either there's a balance between. I think, like if anything, they are a tool to be used. I know that some municipalities, I do feel, overuse them. Certainly, looking here for single and semi, we're at just close to $15,000. You look at the GTA area, they can be over $125,000, depending on that. And they're really relying on growth to pay for maybe extravagant, maybe not extravagant additions to their community. If they're used reasonably, I think they can be as a tool. The more I get into this, I don't know how big a fan I am from an equity standpoint from development charges. But if it's used, if everybody pays later, then everybody pays more in taxes. So I think they're more brought in from a history of a political tool for accepting growth within a community, because you can put some of that cost on the growth coming in, but not necessarily is it going in the from an equity standpoint, is it the right way? I don't know. People are still gonna have to pay taxes that pay the development charges. So, but that's a tool right now that's available through the provincial, and the rules are, and how they're calculated are set out there. So I think until something better is brought forward, or we get to the point where the government does provide funding levels that are adequate, so we don't need them, we're gonna have to use them as a tool. I am a little skeptical of anything where we have to hire economists to justify them, but I think that's come more from their history and how they develop more than anything else. So I'll be supportive. I think that it's a reasonable increase, but certainly I am happy that there's no industrial commercial. We prosper from our industrial development. They don't use the same services, and they provide higher taxes that offset. Ingersoll right now is the leading community of all Ontario of offsetting residential rates with commercial industrial. So I think we would be, I don't think it'd be wise if we had industrial DCs, because we are benefiting after the fact from all those development that we have had. But I do appreciate all the work that staff did. I know it was a last minute item, and that if it didn't get done, it was another 60-day notice period that we would have, so that hustle and drive really paid off. So thank you very much for that. And I appreciate the economist's work as well. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And that concludes all of our special staff reports. We do have some meetings at 7 p.m., so we will skip those for now, and we can go on to correspondence and resolution, if council's good with that. We do have one from the Toronto Zoo. Councillor Hughes, would you like to read that?
Certainly. Moved by myself, Councillor Hughes, seconded by Councillor Helleroo, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive the correspondence from the Toronto Zoo regarding support for improved regulations for the public display and keeping of exotic wild animal species as information.
Discussion. I would like to move, I'd like to have an amendment to that saying that we do show support. And so I will move an amendment so that we can, show support for the resolution by corresponding with the Toronto Zoo as such.
Okay.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Hudson? Thank you. Discussion on the amendment. I think it's important. I think when you look into this, it's very scary that people can just own a tiger or a lion or a dangerous animal. I don't think it's fair to the animals, and I also think it's fair to the community. We regulate cats and dogs more than we do, well, regulate dogs more than we do exotic animals that could be dangerous to, if something escapes, that's a little bit more than someone killing a bird in your backyard or leaving a mess in your backyard. That's something that's scary. And I know our CAO's had some experience with that in Bayham of the consequences of that. So it's ludicrous to me that that's the case in, southwestern Ontario, where there's a high urban population, but such is the case right now. Any further discussion on the amendment? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And then to the amended motion, any further discussion on that?
Maybe I'll just point out that we do have bylaws that do regulate some of the animals, and we do have our own enforcement, but it would be much more preferred, and there have been incidences of very non-pet type animals that can cause injury, so.
Yeah, I think it's also like farm animals are way more regulated than a tiger. We can't all be like Homer Simpson and have a tiger rock that keeps tigers away. So, further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried for that. And then request from myself to attend AMO conference. Councillor Halleran.
All right, thank you. Through you. Moved by myself, Member Halleroo. Are we in the, no, sorry. Moved by myself, Councilor Halleru, seconded by Councilor Van Kooten Bosons, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll approve Mayor Petrie's request to attend the AMO conference in Ottawa from June 18 to 21.
Discussion? Councilor Hughes?
Yes, I'm hoping that I plan on attending that as well. It'll be my first conference for the year. I'm hoping that we're also going to be able to have the delegations that we're requesting up there that hope to have that to push our agendas forward in regards to more support for the town of Ingersoll.
Further discussion? Let's say, yeah, this, as our policy states, that's why it's there, and I've tried to include a budget there of what that will look like, and I have confirmed with the treasurer that there is budget available. And again, I agree with Councilor Hughes that there's been a number of delegations that have been asked for, and hopefully those will be received, and we can gain some support from the ministries, different ministries on those items.
Perfect.
Further discussion? Councilor Halleru?
I just hope that we are able to catch up on, we just had a federal municipal conference this weekend. Hopefully there's feedback that we can gain from what the federal government is also doing, because as a community, we have both options to get some support from. So hopefully we get some catch up, and that's why it's important to go to this one too.
Yep. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. And we can now go to notice of motion. Excellent. Councilor Halleru, you have a notice of motion. And that was received in a time frame, so we can
Yes. Deal with that tonight. Yes, so this moved by myself, Councilor Halleru. I need a seconder for this. Should I read it first? Or?
Yes, read it.
All right. So whereas there has been an increase in resident complaints regarding longer wait times to cross highway flow traffic on Harris Street and Clark Street, and Clark Street and Collington Road, the stop sign beginning to cause a pileup on Clark. Whereas ensuring traffic safety and effective enforcement is critical for fairness in road use and the well-being of the Ingersoll community by reducing congestion on Clark. Whereas updates and communication between the county and the town residents on the matter is essential. Therefore, be it resolved that staff provide an update on current traffic stop focus areas in Ingersoll and a report on actions taken and future plans to address the complaints on Harris Drive, Clark Street, and Collington Road.
A seconder for the motion. Councilor Hughes, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Halleru is the mover. Would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes.
Please do.
So most of us would normally take the highway off in Ingersoll on 216 or 218, which I'm used to doing. And so it's easy to just go on Clark, where I live close, and I turn right with no problems. But when you have people who want to take the side road, the Clark Road, they complain that there's a backup. So I've actually decided to try it for the last week. And sometimes I counted 7 minutes waiting just for the cars to stop. There's no way to stop because they have a right of way. So there's a pileup now almost to Dot Foods with cars just waiting to cross Clark. And I've received a couple emails about it, especially with, even the speeding on Culloden and people trying to rush through. There's been a lot of accidents in the last few weeks. I didn't even know about them because people are trying to kind of dash through, and there's been 1 or 2 incidents. So I just put this motion through because I feel like if staff can take a look at it, perhaps the residents want to understand how much longer they have to wait for something to be done. I suggest that either a traffic stop to just give maybe 2 seconds or 2 minutes for people to cross over, just to make the fairness on the roads. And that's kind of why we have to look at this.
Thank you. Further questions or comments? Nope. Councilor Bowen, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Hudson, or Councilor Halleru, I understand where you're coming from with this. The report I've got, the information that I've got in front of me, as well as the information that I'm assuming everybody else can get, already says that it's in the works. The one at Culloden Road, or Clark Road and Whiting Street, I was the one that brought that forward at the request of some of the residents out there before COVID. So it's already in the works.
Yeah.
I understand it's already at the county level. They're already addressing it. What the changes will be and what their suggestions are, we don't know yet. So I don't know as I can support this motion because we've already got this in place. It's already being looked at. It's already at the county level. It's already in the system. We're just waiting for them to come back with whether it be roundabouts, stoplights, or what the case may be.
So can I have a follow-up question?
Yes, please.
So at this point, are residents okay to ask if there was any update on that process? Because I do know about the fact that we have it at the county level, and which is why some people are saying we just want to know what's the timeline. So is it something that we can't ask until we get the results, or is it something that we can ask for an update?
I can provide an update from my perspective, rather than the county representative. We're working with county staff. There was the traffic master plan that identified those areas for Clark Road as being looking at it for the justification report about whether that should be a local or a county road. And that's coming forward through the transportation master plan, and also that intersection identified as well. And so we're working with county staff to ensure that those items move through the budget process to make sure that they're in the 2025 budget. First through an EA study that has to have been identified that needs to happen, and then through the road rationalization study as well to make sure that can be funded, and then those items can be identified and move forward to the next step. Certainly, I agree with you that as growth happens in that area, the town-owned land on the other side of Clark and our industrial park, and then the development, commercial development and the housing, that area is going to get built up, and there's going to be increased demand there. And certainly, I'm advocating for Clark Road. I think that the road rationalizational study will see that should be a county a road, but certainly let that process weigh out. I would love to have it in this year's budget, but with the transportation master plan coming, that had to be done first. And that's why I made sure that it came back from the county to make sure that we had time to comment on it. And those comments that were provided by Mr. Sweetland and his crew were able to be incorporated in there. And that's why they're going to be, those areas have been identified. Certainly, there's some, unfortunately, in process, but not happening right away because of the items that need to be done to make sure that they can be accomplished. But Mr. Sweetland, do you have anything that you could add further to that?
No, I think you've hit it right on the head. There's the order of process for these types of projects sometimes take a little while from the master planning stages and the successive traffic studies that get built upon as the areas are built out. What's important with the Clark and Harris intersection is the road widening that was also included in the transportation master plan from the 401 to Clark Road. So to undertake intersection improvements ahead of a road widening, that would be constructing works that would have to be deconstructed, reconstructed again. So these ones take a little while longer for, especially adding lanes that requires a Class EA study. So there's year 1 study, year 2 design, year 3 construct, typical timelines on those projects. So now that we have the master plan out, these things were all included in the 2024 to 2028 timeline, and then the county budget will advise on when each process will take place.
Okay, so I heard the mayor say 2025, but you're saying to 2028? Because I just want to know if it's a range, and we have to be fair that people are asking and they want to know, and this is just an update, not because I just want to have an idea so that we can have people's expectations kind of met.
Yeah, and I can clarify that. So the first step is to ensure that the A process happens, and that needs to happen in the 2025 budget.
Okay.
And the road rationalization study as well. So the 2 intersections, one is an EA process, and then if we need to make sure that if Clark Road is going to transfer or become something different, then we're not, as a community, putting infrastructure and improvements in that when it's supposed to be at a different level. So hopefully those 2 projects, fairly confident that maybe we'll get the EA process through. I don't know as far as the road rationalization, where it is on this,
Okay.
there's a lot of things being asked for at the county. So they've got to be prioritized, and certainly that intersection is a priority. And the county is aware that it's going to take a while, and they're aware of the development that's happening in that area. So trying to make sure that those are prioritized to go through. But there will be subsequent budgets that will be affected because, as Mr. Sweetland stated, you have to do the EA to make sure that you know what's the whole process is, and then there's a capital planning process to try to design and build, and then there's actual construction of something that happens. So subsequent budget years will be affected. But it's very important to get that planning, that ball rolling.
Okay, so I have a final question. So when it comes to the fact that we do know that that road might need major, before something is done, is that something that stops us from doing something like a simple stop sign, or is that under the county? Because people are just looking at some stopgap that can help with this current situation. I just wondered which is in our control.
Mr. Graves.
So if we're talking about the Clark and Harris intersection, that is a county intersection, so it would be them that would do that. I would suggest they likely wouldn't go to the trouble to put in any kind of infrastructure of a traffic controlling nature at this time until they do the other full-blown study to move forward. They have just received more traffic studies based on new growth in the area, including the commercial development for Siftons, and so that has an impact on it. But really, that's a question for county council to determine when they make those decisions and how they improve those intersections.
Thank you.
And then I can certainly add to that is that being that it's Highway 19 going through there, the MTO is, and being so close to the 401, the MTO is sensitive about traffic control and about implementing items like this that's going to hinder traffic on a regional road setup. Just another reason we need to do that regional road study to try to, Highway 19, Thames Street and Bell Street and Canterbury Street at one time was a provincial highway. It was then downloaded, and now for some reason it's now become a local, Thames Street is a local road. You can see in the master plan documents that Highway 19 coming into town when the 401 is busiest, and Canterbury, when it starts again after Canterbury Street, they're both red with traffic. I think we can all guess what the middle is.
Yeah.
So I think that road rationalization study to try to get, we have County Road 10 coming in, Ingersoll Street there. And I think that road rationalization study, we need something to make sure the regional traffic is not impacting our local roads. And that's where that road rationalization study should help identify where regional roads should be as opposed to where they are now. Right now, our regional roads come in, Bell Street comes in, Highway 19, and then 7 goes out Thames Street. Not a lot of traffic using that to go around Ingersoll because they have to come in Ingersoll. So I do appreciate I can certainly understand people's concerns at that traffic stop. It's getting busier, and it's certainly been identified in both in the documents that it's an issue.
Just to make it very relatable to everyone, in the last, I think, 3 months, we've had 2 major accidents on the 401, and it took 4 hours for somebody to be able to come home opposite Dot Foods because everyone was coming off the highway, and because they were all coming off the highway, the two opposing roads could not cross each other for people to come home because everyone on the highway was coming this way, which is why it's been, such a big talking point. And at some point, we're still looking at housing, yes, and all of that, but in the meantime, sometimes, residents just need some answers, and that's kind of why I wanted to bring it up. At least they get your explanation now, they get the answers, we have a better understanding, and that's what this is all about. It's not about anything else. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Wilson, please.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. More of a comment, I suppose, rather than a question. So based on the information we've been able to get from staff, it sounds like a report is probably not necessary simply because we've essentially gotten that now, and there's obviously lots in the works to kind of get this resolved. But what I appreciate from the motion and Mayor Petrie's comments are, making sure residents know what's going on. And I think for a lot of us, traffic concerns are probably something we hear more often than most things. But if residents don't reach out to staff or communicate that in a formal way, there's not much we can do. We can't do anything about a complaint on Facebook. So I suppose a reminder to residents that, in order for us to hear your concerns and actually do anything about them, reaching out to staff or documenting through the complaint form, I would suspect is probably the best way for residents to do that. But maybe if staff could provide any other feedback to make sure residents can formally voice their concerns, because I think that may also help Siobhan find like communication patterns of things people want to hear about. But if they don't voice that in a formal way, it's really hard for us to capture that for the future.
Agreed. No, it's very important also when it comes to if town staff or county staff don't have the data to be able to back up, there's, and I'll be honest, throughout the county, as we have growth happen, the way we've seen it, and the increase in transportation, there's traffic challenges throughout the county. And so if we don't have that data, and we don't have that information to back it up, there's challenges all over where the funding goes. So people's voices, if they're contacting the county or the town can transfer that as well, that needs to be formally made so we have a record and we can try to push that forward. And it makes my job at county a little bit easier to advocate to my colleagues, be like, I'll be honest, we received delegations of trouble at Punky Dudas Corner was a great one. And council was able to move that up in priority level. We received a great delegation about the new traffic lights at Wilson Street in Woodstock, about the noise they make at night. Staff were able to come up with a solution because someone brought that forward. And more than willing to work with people, it's just more one of those things of if they don't know, they can't do it. So certainly agree with that statement. Councillor Halleroom.
Yeah, totally agree with that statement. What I heard most was that people were complaining about, they've been writing emails to the county, and I keep saying, channel it to the county, so maybe you should help us spearhead that whole concern more at the county level, because again, communication is important, so people are at least aware of maybe a timeline, maybe there needs to be an update, because on a daily basis, people's frustrations are getting high. They're saying they're talking to the county, I'm asking them to talk to the town, and not everything is town of Ingersoll, but you have to send those complaints through. So it is something that we are proactively asking people to send messages through. But if the county or the town can also give an update at some point, I think it helps to lower the temperature, and that's just what it's about communication.
Excellent. Further questions or comments? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? That is defeated. But I think we had a good discussion, so that's good. With that now, I think we have exhausted our agenda as far as timeline goes, so I will move for a recess till 7 p.m. Is there a motion for that? Deputy Mayor Wilson and Councillor Bowman for a second. Discussion. All those in favor? Seeing none. Approved. Okay, I'll call the meeting back to order, and I'll ask Councillor Hughes for a motion to take us into Committee of Adjustment, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Moved by myself, Councillor Hughes, seconded by Councillor Helleroo, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll go into Committee of Adjustment meeting to consider the following minor variance application. A-02-24 329 Oxford Street, applicant Steve Parkhill.
Discussion. None, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Committee of the Adjustment. And we do have a public meeting for that, so I now declare the Committee of Adjustment meeting to be open. The Committee of Adjustment is authorized to consider applications for minor variances for the Town of Ingersoll zoning bylaw under Section 45 of the Planning Act. This meeting is being constituted as a public meeting under Section 45(6) of the Act for the purpose of receiving public input on the requested minor variance, which will be considered this evening by the planner and Committee of Adjustment before a decision on the application is made at a future meeting of the committee. We ask anyone in attendance at this meeting who wishes to receive the committee's decision on the application being considered to sign the attendance record on the table outside of council chambers. Anyone attending virtually to submit a written request to the town clerk, danielle.richard@ingersoll.ca. Does any member of the Committee of Adjustment have a conflict of interest on the application being heard this evening? Seeing none. The application to be heard concerns A-02-24 329 Oxford Street, applicant Steve Parkhill. Has the Secretary of the Committee received any additional correspondence on the application that is not noted on the agenda?
No, have not.
Thank you. I now request Planner Heather Sinclair to provide an overview of the application and explanation of the requested minor variance. Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good evening, committee. So the application on tonight's agenda is a minor variance that has been requested to facilitate the construction of a 40.8 square meter or 440 square foot addition to an existing 84 square meter or 905 square foot detached garage on the subject lands. This detached garage is accessory to an existing single detached dwelling on the property, and it will be used, the additional space will be used for personal storage. Once enlarged, the total gross floor area of the detached garage would be approximately 124 square meters or 1,336 square feet in size, which does exceed the maximum lot coverage allowance in the zoning bylaw, which is 100 square meters or 1,076 square feet. The subject lands, as shown on Plate 2 of the staff report, are located on the east side of Oxford Street, where it culminates in a dead end. The property is approximately 2,300 square meters, or half an acre in size, and surrounding land uses are predominantly low-density residential, with lands regulated by the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority located to the southwest. The property is designated as low-density residential in the county official plan and is zoned as residential type 1 in the town zoning bylaw. It is noted that there was an error printed on the initial public notice that was circulated, but a correction notice was mailed, and no comments of concern have been received from the public to date. It's also noted that the proposed addition would be located to the rear of the existing detached garage. No new entrances are proposed to facilitate the project, and staff will follow up with comments and a recommendation from planning at a subsequent report, and I'm available for any questions if committee has them. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the applicant or the representative have any comments or anything they'd like to say concerning the application? Thank you. I will now open this meeting up to comments from the public. This portion of the meeting provides the one opportunity for individuals to speak to the application and have their comments considered by the planner and Committee of Adjustment before the report and recommendation on the requested minor variance is brought forward at a subsequent meeting. Any person attending who wishes to provide comments in support or opposition to the application may do so now. Please approach the lectern and state your name and address for the public record. Is there anybody from the public who'd like to comment on this application? Seeing none. Is there anybody online that is scheduled to speak? No? Last call, anybody? No? Seeing none, then I will now move it over to members of the Committee of Adjustment. Now have the opportunity to ask any questions about the application. However, they may not offer any comments at this time. Questions from committee? Member Hughes.
Thank you, Chair. question to staff in regards to any precedents that we've been setting or have set in regards to the outbuilding or the extra building compared to the residential. Now, you did mention, Mrs. Sinclair did mention in regards to it having that limit. Have we set a precedence in any regards to allowing this beyond the properties, or sorry, the existing housing?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we generally don't review these applications in the context of precedent setting. We review each application under its own merit. When we're looking at these types of applications specifically for additional lot coverage for accessory space, what we're really looking to confirm is there is sufficient space on the lot to accommodate for the typical requirements of the zoning bylaw, private amenity space, lot grading, and drainage. Is the request reasonable in nature? Does it go beyond the scope of what would be considered reasonable for residential accessory use? And what type of impact it may have on the neighbors. So that's what we would be reviewing the application under, rather than what type of precedent may have been set in the past, because each application does need to be reviewed under its own merit. Every property is different, every scenario is different, so that's what my recommendation will be based on.
Further questions? Seeing none. If there are no further comments or questions, then the meeting for this application is concluded. The application will now be scheduled to come before the Committee of Adjustment, a subsequent meeting, during which the planner's report and recommendation will be considered and a decision will be made. We will now consider the resolution under this application. And Member Halleru, you have a resolution.
Thank you, through you. So moved by myself, Member Halleru, seconded by a member of Vancouver and Boston's, that the Town of Ingersoll Committee of Adjustment receive planners report number CP 2024-189 as information.
Thank you. Discussion. See none. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. As a reminder, if anybody wishes, if any member of the audience wishes to be notified of the committee's decision in respect of the minor variance, they must either sign the attendance sheet that is located in the foyer outside council chambers or submit a written request to the Secretary of the Committee of Adjustment, Danielle Richard, at danielle.richard@ingersoll.ca. The Secretary must provide notice of the Committee of Adjustment's decisions to all those who request a copy within 10 days after the committee renders its decision. Third parties are entitled to appeal the decision to the OLT, must do so by filing with the Secretary within 20 days of the notice of decision. The tribunal has the power to dismiss an appeal under subsection 1745 of the Planning Act if an appellant does not provide the Committee of Adjustment with oral submissions at a public meeting or a written submission before a decision has been rendered by the committee. The notice of appeal must set out the objection to the decision and the reasons in support of the objection accompanied by the required fee. If there are no further comments or questions, then I will ask for a resolution to adjourn this June 10th Committee of Adjustment meeting. No comments? Nothing? Member Vancouver Boston's, please.
Moved by myself, seconded by Member Wilson, that this Committee of Adjustment public meeting now be adjourned and that the June 10th, 2024 regular meeting of council come back to order.
Thank you. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Back as council here. And we will continue with our public meetings. We will now go to item 8 on our agenda. I declare the public meeting to be open. This meeting is being constituted as a public meeting held under the Planning Act to consider the proposed amendments to Consolidated Zoning Bylaw 04-41-60 or 4160. Any person in attendance, including those participating virtually, may make a presentation to council in support or opposition to the zone change application. Individuals who wish to receive the decision of council on the application being considered this evening must sign the record of attendance outside council chambers and submit a written request to the attention of the town clerk, Danielle Richard, at danielle.richard@ingersoll.ca. The Ontario Land Tribunal has the power to dismiss an appeal under subsection 25, and if appellant has not provided council with oral submissions at a public meeting or written submissions before a bylaw is passed under this section. The application to be heard concerns ZN 6-24-01, Town of Ingersoll zoning bylaw 04-4160 updates. Has the clerk received any additional correspondence on the application that is not noted on the agenda?
No, we have not.
Thank you. In advance of receiving public comments, I will request the planner Heather Sinclair provide a brief overview of the application and explanation of the proposed zone change amendments.
Thank you, Your Worship. So as stated, staff have initiated a general housekeeping amendment to the town zoning bylaw that will correct a number of minor errors and provide administrative updates for clarification purposes, as well as updating a number of provisions to reflect recent provincial changes, specifically with respect to the source water protection areas, as well as changes reflective of the Child Care and Early Years Act. The current comprehensive zoning bylaw for the town was passed by council in 2004, and subsequent housekeeping amendments were completed in 2010 and 2017. So this housekeeping update is consistent with that schedule. Also, regular housekeeping updates are important to ensure that the zoning bylaw is keeping up with development trends, and these updates will clarify some regulations that have been deemed to warrant some additional clarification through previous development applications. The updates proposed as part of this amendment include the incorporation of the updated source water protection provisions and the associated mapping, which will clearly identify the properties located within these source water protection areas that could represent a drinking water threat within the town, as well as changes to the home occupation provisions to increase the number of children permitted as part of a private home daycare from 5 to 6, which is provided in the Child Care and Early Years Act. And update the definition section to reflect these new provisions. We're also proposing to remove the minimum gross floor area requirement for dwelling units, which currently range between 55 and 75 square meters, depending on the dwelling type. And the intent of removing these minimum gross floor area requirements is to allow for a greater degree of flexibility to provide for more modest and affordable housing options. As well, this will essentially revert the minimum size of dwelling types back to the Ontario Building Code. Also proposed is a new definition for an animal care establishment, which would mean any premise for the caring, grooming, and training of household pets, but would exclude any type of overnight or outdoor kenneling. We have also added provisions to clarify cargo containers for permanent and temporary placements, and have amended the definition of height and semi-detached dwellings for further clarity, and added provisions for the location of outdoor HVAC equipment. An entire list of the draft of the proposed changes has been appended to the staff report, and I'm available for any questions that council should have. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now open the meeting to comments from the public. Any person from the audience who wishes to provide comments in support or opposition to the application may do so now by coming forward to the lectern and stating their name and address for the public record. Is there anybody in council chambers that wishes to speak to the application? Is there anybody online who wishes to speak to the application? I'm seeing a no. Final call. Seeing none. Thank you. Member councils now have the opportunity to ask any questions about the application. However, they may not offer any comments at this time. Questions from council? Seeing none. If there are no further comments or questions, and the public meeting for this application is now concluded, the application will now be scheduled to come before council at a subsequent meeting, during which the planner's report and the recommendation will be considered. Once a decision is rendered, the clerk will provide a notice of council's decision to all of those who requested a copy within 15 days after the bylaw is passed. I will now ask for a resolution on the application of the planner's report. Deputy Mayor Wilson, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Bowman, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive Planner's Report CP 2024-185 as information.
Thank you. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And that takes us down to our delegation section. And I will call upon our first delegation, which is from our great friends of the Oxford County Library that talks about Ox on the Run. So welcome.
Good evening. I'm Lisa Maria Williams, CEO and Chief Librarian of the Oxford County Library, here with the Ox on the Run team to present to you information on our year-round pilot for Ox on the Run services. And now welcome Megan Brennan, the Outreach and Teen Librarian, and the Ox on the Run team.
Good evening, everyone. Just to get started, I want to give you a little background on Ox on the Run if you haven't seen our bookmobile out and about in Ingersoll. So Ox on the Run started in 2019. It grew from the library staff going to community events here, especially in Ingersoll, and going to Victoria Park in the summertime and meeting lots of families. And we knew that we had something special when we were meeting a lot of people out on the road. So in 2019, we started a pilot project for the summer months, and we had a rental vehicle, and we put library equipment in the back of a pickup truck, and we went to parks and playgrounds and splash pads everywhere we could in Oxford County for those summer months, just to meet Oxford County where they are and remind them that we have libraries. We have 14 branches around the county. And we did encounter that there are a lot of reasons why people are not coming into our brick and mortar libraries. Issues related to transportation or scheduling or the hours of our library branches, but just also lack of awareness of our library resources and what is available to Oxford residents. So we learned from that initial summer that we had something really special, and we want to continue this pilot with a second-year pilot in 2020, which we all know how 2020 went. So we didn't have a pilot project that year, but we did go out again in 2021 and 2022. And by 2023, we thought, we really want to make a go of this. Let's do a 18-month pilot project and see what we can achieve in those 18 months, and can we make this a permanent project for Oxford County. Just in June, so we're just up to our 1 year of the pilot project with our bookmobile. So earlier last year, we purchased a decommissioned ambulance from the county, and we converted it into a bookmobile. You'll see a picture of it up on the screen if you haven't seen it already. Inside our bookmobile, you can walk inside. We have a collection of books that you can borrow. You can sign up for a library card, but we also have computer access, internet access, printing access. So anywhere we are on the road, if you needed to pop on and print a resume or do your homework, we are there for you. But not only just do we have library services on board, but when we pull up to a location such as a park or a splash pad, we will open the doors. People can come on inside, sit down, browse the collection. We'll give you a library card. We can give you a quick tutorial on what's going on in the library, what you can use your library card for. And then our staff are doing crafts and activities and all kinds of wonderful things with families, story times, you name it. So we are truly a tiny little library on wheels that are out in the community. I'm very proud to report that in the last 12 months, the Ox on the Run team has seen 4,800 people, made 150 library cards, and we've loaned out over 800 books from the bookmobile itself. I'm going to turn it over next to Nicole.
Hi everyone, my name is Nicole and I'm the Outreach Services Specialist with the Ox on the Run team. So I just wanted to give you a bit of insight for Ingersoll specifically what these numbers look like. So you'll see we've made 19 stops in the town of Ingersoll. And this data is from just the beginning of June last year to the tail end of April of this year, so just about a full year. And we engaged with 493 people, split fairly evenly between kids and adults since we were able to be out in the winter and engaging with more adult communities. And we did register 14 new library cards, so the majority of those were for children, so that means 14 new families coming in to use the resources in the Ingersoll branch. And some of our popular stops were the Victoria Park Splash Pad. Of course, it's a lovely spot to be in the summer, so we saw a lot of families there. The Harvest Market that the Kiwanis Committee puts on, so we were really grateful to be invited, and we engaged with tons of families. We're looking forward to this coming year already. And the Adam Oliver Summer Camp, it's kind of a camp, end of summer barbecue. We engaged with a lot of families in the Adam Oliver Housing Co-op at that point, so it was great to build those connections there. And just a bit of a breakdown on the types of stops. Our biggest segment of that pie chart is seniors visits. So that was to Whittingford Lodge, we had monthly stops there, as well as the Ingersoll Senior Center, where we could set up in the parking lot and folks could come in and on their way in and out to chat with us. Followed by that, we have our park stops, so any of our public-facing stops where the community is just welcome to come in and chat with us, borrow materials. Special events is the next segment, something like the Ingersoll Harvest Market or Indigeno with ESON, the Indigenous Services Network. And lastly, our outreach stops. So that is going to the Adam Oliver community and engaging with folks there and talking about library services. I'll turn it back over to Megan.
So you might notice from the numbers that we are not making very many stops in Ingersoll. But I do want to make note that the Ingersoll Library staff downstairs already have a wonderful connection with many organizations and businesses in town, so they are already doing a wonderful job at doing outreach in the community. So what Ox on the Run is really just supplementing what is already existing in the community. Our staff downstairs are going out to early on to schools. I go to Adam Oliver every month and do activities after school with kids. So we're already out in the community. This is just focusing on what extra stuff that Ox on the Run is doing. But it's also important to note too that when we're out in Ingersoll itself, we are encountering a lot of people who already have library cards. A lot of active library users and families are coming up just to say hi, oh, we were just there, or you reminded us we have to bring our books back. So that really goes to show how loved the library here is in this community, and it's being well used. So with that in mind, we are focusing our efforts on other parts of the county. We're trying to bring our services to some of our communities that don't have library branches, but that doesn't mean that we're not focusing on Ingersoll. We still want to reach the populations that might not be coming into the library or have easy access to us. So we still want to go to the senior centers. We want to focus on children and bringing them in during the summertime for our summer reading club, and going to neighborhoods in the community that might not have easy access to the library. So with that, some of the highlights over the last year was our team here was able to go quite regularly to Woodingford Lodge here in the community. And although the residents weren't able to come onto the bookmobile itself, Nicole and Jenna were able to go inside, make really great relationships and connections with the residents, and introduce them to our home delivery service. So now several of those residents have regular monthly deliveries from the staff downstairs. We are very busy, as always, in the summertime with our Victoria Park stops. As soon as school is out and you're at that park, it is flooded with families, people having fun. So when we pull up, everyone gathers around. It's not uncommon to see 40 people sitting around in the park listening to a story time from us and doing crafts. So that's really cool. We were very happy that we were invited to join Indigeno for 2 sessions where we were able to highlight some of the resources in our collection to help the children that are in the program. We engaged with 300 people at Harvest Market, and we can't wait to go back again this year. But most recently, we supported the Ingersoll Library during their week-long renovations, and we parked outside in the parking lot, and the community was able to come by, pick up their library holds, like there wasn't any interruption to service, and they were able to come on board and check out the bookmobile. All right, I'm going to pass it on.
So of course, it's a pilot project. We did encounter a few challenges throughout the year. The one that most impacted Ingersoll was that we are unfortunately not available for the Santa Claus parade. We were really hoping to be there and kind of drum up some more excitement for Ox on the Run, but we did have some licensing issues, so we were not able to join the parade this year. We're very hoping and very excited to be available next year, or this year, I guess. Oh my gosh. The second one is the parking logistics in the Adam Oliver housing complex are a bit tricky. It's a really tight space, and we're kind of at the whim of the availability of visitor parking spots. We want to be mindful, because it's a large vehicle, that we're not impeding any access to sidewalks as well, because some folks have accessibility issues there. So we just want to be available but not be in the way either. So it's kind of a fine line to walk there. On that note, the vehicle itself isn't accessible at this point, so it is tough when we do encounter folks that maybe would like to come see our collection or come on board and check it out, but they're just physically unable to. And the last one, the public does still often assume it is an ambulance, so despite me and Jenna being very friendly and out there and engaging, some people kind of think we're EMS and a little bit reluctant to approach. Off to Jenna.
Hi everyone, I'm Jenna. I'm the Outreach Services Clerk and part of the Ox on the Run team. So our opportunities for the future, we have plans to attend a future active living fair with the Ingersoll Senior Center. We hope. We're visiting Laurie Hawkins School and Harrisfield Public School later this month. We'll be promoting Summer Reading Club and encouraging kids to sign up for that and track their reading over the summer. Ox on the Run was not able to get there last June, so we're looking forward to see some new kids. And we'll be attending the Summer Reading Club party, Summer Reading Club launch party downstairs at the library on June 28th. It runs from 10 to 2, so if you haven't seen the vehicle, it's a good opportunity to come check it out.
So over the last year, we have learned a lot during this first 12 months of our pilot project. We've had a lot of successes, but also we're still learning. We're learning what works, what doesn't, but we also have a lot of ideas. So we are really excited that we get to try out lots of different things when we're out on the road, and we hope that we'll continue to do this past our 18-month pilot. We also have a lot of businesses that reach out to us, community partners, people who want to go on the road with us or invite us to do all kinds of fun things. So there's so many opportunities, not enough time. So we really hope that this project continues on. And I can't help think back to when I'm thinking about the impact of this project and what it has done for our community. One of my most memorable stories is we were out in the park last summer, and a family who had just moved to the Ingersoll area from somewhere else in Ontario, they stumbled upon us in the park. The mom signed up her and her kids for library cards. They took a calendar of our stops, and then they spent the rest of the summer finding Ox on the Run in different communities, wherever, and it was a nice way to tour Oxford County, get to know their new community, and they're avid library users now. So it's just one story that might show you how impactful our project is. Do either of you have any fun stories you want to share?
When we were at Harvest Market, there was a father there with his 2 young daughters, and he brought them into the bookmobile and was very, very keen on getting the kids signed up for library cards. But we were just chatting with him, and it's like, well, what about you? Like, do you enjoy reading, or what do you do? And he was a long-haul trucker and said he had no time for reading. And so I thought, well, you're in the car for a long time. Do you like audiobooks? And he said, oh, that would be great. And so got to tell him about the digital resources he could access with the library card, and it kind of was like a light bulb, like, oh, I could use this too. And it was just a really heartening moment to expand services.
And recently we were at a school in Tillsonburg for a spring open house, and there was supposed to be different vendors out in the parking lot along with us, but it was a crummy day. They were calling for thunderstorms, so everybody who was supposed to be outside had moved inside, and one of the teachers met us when we pulled up, and she was like, well, you guys can park out here and hopefully somebody will come see you. So Nicole and I were pretty grumpy. And this little boy came into the bookmobile, and he was like, this is the most amazing thing that I have ever seen, and it just turned our whole day around. So we are making a difference.
So as our project continues and we near the end of our pilot project, we just hope that we continue to make an impact on our community. We really hope that this project continues past the pilot phase and becomes permanent, and we can continue to not only offer our services to Oxford County, but be here in Ingersoll for many years to come. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Other questions from council? Councilor Van Koop-Bosens.
Thank you, Mayor Petrie, through you. Thank you, ladies, for being here. It's so awesome to have you. I know my 4-year-old absolutely loved having you around. The event that you're doing at the Ingersoll Library, June 25th, I think Jenna had mentioned. 28th?
Yeah, it's the first day of summer after school ends.
After school ends,
So
okay.
it's the Summer Reading Club launch party. There'll
Okay.
be different activities, and the sweet cycle will be here. And
I was just going to say, last year, if I do remember correctly, we had Touch a Truck. I don't know if the
Yes.
fire truck's coming again this year, but it's always a good thing to have around in a police car. And the kids love going from vehicle to vehicle. And if you haven't asked the Kiwanis Club, make sure you're asking them to do the barbecue again. So I'll just put that plug in for you. How's that sound? So are they lined up? Good. I probably haven't heard yet, but that's just me because I've been too busy. But thank you, ladies, for everything you're doing to promote literacy and really getting our kids having a love for a read. And, you know, I mean, I don't have enough time to read, but you're right. Maybe it's time I started looking at the digital thing as well. So you never know what you have to offer until you go in and actually see. So thank you for what you're doing and the outreach that you have.
Councilor Halleran.
I just want to say what a bundle of joy you guys are. The teamwork that I see, the camaraderie and the excitement and the creativity you're bringing to the community, I think it's important. And I love that you share the stories so that people can actually see the kind of impact we're having. I think it's a necessity for a project like yours to continue because people are coming and going, and in the summer, people ask, what is there to do? And you guys are creating that extra thing to do. So that's really beautiful to see, and thank you.
Further questions? Hearing none, I will have some comments when we have a resolution, but thank you so much for coming today. And I get the pleasure of being a board member on the library board, so I get to hear all these great stories, and it's, I'll leave it there, but thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
And I believe we do have Councillor Bowman, you have a resolution.
Yes, I do, Mr. Mayor. And just before I make the resolution, ladies, again, thank you for all your work. Thank you for all your enthusiasm. It's nice to see that everyone is enjoying our libraries, their books, both physical and digital. And it's just nice to see. I hope it continues. Thank you very much. Moved by myself, Councillor Bowman, seconded by Councillor Hughes, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive the Ox on the Run progress update from Lisa Marie, Nicole, Megan, and Jenna of the Oxford County Library as information.
Thank you. Discussion. The comments I have is that it's important, once again, to if you have good news stories about this, to share them with the library board. We need those stories. This is a pilot program. And so funding came from reserves for this. It's not part of the budget yet. I think you'll have full support from the library board, but that gets approved at county council as well. So there was questions last year about this. We had the library budget went up 19%. A lot had to do with surplus and with when the timing between when COVID hit and you get a surplus and you use it, and you get another surplus and you use it, and all of a sudden that surplus is gone because we had a full year. But if the board and the council doesn't know how valuable service this is out to the community, then it becomes one of those items that maybe doesn't get put forward. And so we certainly do our job on the library board. I have to give credit to Councillor Mayberry, David Mayberry, Mayor of Southwest Oxford, super kind of bringing this forward and making sure that staff knew that we want you to try different things. This is a fun period of time to try to see what works. It doesn't have to be a success all the time. I think we're hearing that. They're learning and seeing where this can be the most useful. And so there is a lot of people out there. We're lucky. We have a library right downstairs. We have one of the largest libraries, Tillsonburg and ours, because Woodstock's separate. We have great access to it. Not all other communities do. And so having that, the only thing I will continue to advocate for, I still want it to have a moo horn and some horns on it, because I think it would look pretty cool. But we'll work on that. But any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And we do have a delegation request, which, because it did not meet the notice requirement, does require a majority approval to be heard. Is there a mover and a seconder willing to put on the floor to hear the delegation? Councillor Van Kootenbossens, and I saw Councillor Hughes for a second. Discussion on that? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. So I will welcome Charlie from the Lions forward to give a presentation of delegation, please. Welcome.
Thank you for this opportunity, and it is an opportunity. It was dropped in the Lions' lap. We have a promoter that he could promote Coles and Newcastle, but I just went to see the second act that he is proposing to have, and I think she's going to steal a show. But I think this is a great opportunity. Jay is running around lining up all kinds of media stuff We got a radio station that wants to promote this concert. I called my insurance, the Lions Insurance. We can get $5 million insurance for our beer garden. It's $54 over what our usual coverage is, so insurance isn't an issue. The Rotary is willing to support it too. I have a $5,000 check to give to Jay so he can, or whoever gets it. We got to get the ball rolling. He's got to sign Helix and line up the rest of the, so then that's the first step. The next step is to get the special occasions permit. This should be designated as a significant event for the community. This is all about promoting Ingersoll. As far as the money raised, I'm not expecting a whole lot, like it's kind of an unknown, but we don't want to raise, we want to support this event, so if we have anything beyond $1,000 profit, I want to put it towards next year's event, so they have some seed money, because seed money is kind of important. We have to me, it's a great event lined up. The Canterbury Folk Fest was a great event. The Sarah Smith is sort of a country folk blues, like she covers a lot of the genres. And then we got Helix, which is, there's a lot of people in the, certain age groups that remembers that group. So I've got my club all fired up. We've even got some, another Lions Club that has a fan club for Sarah Smith. So I'm thinking that volunteers might not be as hard as I hope, but I got to do a little scraping for Smart Serve people. We're going to need some snow fence and stuff. Whatever the Canterbury Folk Fest Beer Garden, I was going to go on that model. Anything to add, Jay?
I just want this to be a...
Oh, you have to.
Sure. I guess my motto on this has been, there's no I in team, but there's a capital I in Ingersoll. And I want to make this event about Ingersoll. Okay? I've worked in London, and I want to do something cool in my town that I went to high school in. I've been planning this since high school, and I just want to see the town of Ingersoll get together and have some fun under the stars. It makes me emotional. I'm going to cry. Okay? That's where my heart is in this. I mean, I've been trying to do this since January. I got blessed enough to work with Helix, a band that I idolized in high school, and somehow, by the grace of God, whoever that may be, they put me in charge, and they're doing me a favor. Sarah Smith is another person who I call my cosmic sister. She also is really good friends with Helix, so to me, this is like my family putting on a show. We're also planning on One Way Streets, which is a high school band out of Ingersoll, who are starting to gain some traction. And what better can I do than put them on a global stage with Helix to give the band from Ingersoll exposure. I just left Delhi. I was with Bill Mates, who I think at one time was the Oxford. He said to say hi to a few people. He wants to sponsor the event, and he's not even in Ingersoll anymore. On Thursday, I'm bringing Brian Vollmer to the Fusion Center, and we're going to use the Fusion Center to shoot some video for the show. We're going to do some interviews, so that's another community event. I have Tempsford Pizza feeding us that night. So my whole thing is I just want to do some things in my community, because I was working in London and the bigger cities and that, and I was just like, no, I need to do something here. This is where my mom is, and this is where I want to see something happen. Tempsford has Calathumpian, Woodstock has Calpalooza, Ingersoll's going to have Good for the Soul, Ingersoll's Music Festival. And I guess that's where I'll leave it. Thank you.
Any questions?
Charlie, if you could just give a general overview. There was a letter that was sent in, but it wasn't part of the agenda because of the technicality of not meeting the deadline. So if you could just give like a general overview of kind of what you're asking for and And
Yes, well, we're presenting a check for $5,000 seed money. The BIA and the town were supposedly going to support in the $10,000 each range, but we feel that we're going to collect from Cargill, Dot Foods. We're going to start at the top and work all the way down. No business is going to get missed. We're going to get everybody's support we can get
Yes,
to support this thing.
I have an idea, the nail salon in town, do a special, Helix colored nails for the girls to get dressed up for the show for a month. Joker's Crown, Helix Burger for the month. The lead singer and I are gonna go to each one of these places and we're gonna film social media. We're gonna do a 1-month blitz of Ingersoll on the map, supporting local. Brian's, the lead singer from Helix, was born and raised in Listowel. He was born and raised on a farm, sleeping in a bedroom with like 5 brothers and sisters, you know, snuggling up to keep warm. He really wants to give back to the community, and you know, and the plan is maybe after Ingersoll, we might take it to another small community. But the Helix started in a small community, and this is their 50th anniversary. I'm really trying to push to get them into the Hall of Fame, and I would love Ingersoll to be a part of that as well, right?
The Helix played in town here.
Oh, they played, well, Helix played, well, actually, we're probably standing in the old Ingersoll Hotel. Helix played in the Ingersoll Hotel in 1974. There's actually a video on Facebook, them talking about, you know, the quality of the rooms upstairs, which, you know, at the time was a little bit of a dive, I guess. But it looks a lot better on the second floor now.
Yeah. So we're pretty confident that with due diligence, we can pretty well bankroll this thing with support, but we are asking for some support from the town because this is good for the Lions. We need more members. We need more exposure, and
I believe it was Kyle. Is Kyle here? Yeah, sorry, Kyle. No, not Kyle. I'm trying to think. Who said Kurt? Yeah, they said that one person coming to Ingersoll for a day brings $90 of economic value. If somebody gets a hotel and stays overnight, it's $244. So I'm thinking with the Kiwanis market already going on, we have maybe 4,000 people here, hopefully. And if I can bring another 3,000 people, that sounds like a lot of money in the town of Ingersoll to be spent. And I really don't want any business to go, if you want to be involved, please step up and we can find a way for us to work together.
questions of the delegation? Councilor Hughes, please.
Thank you, gentlemen. So the date.
August 24th, the same day as the Kiwanis Market. That was a little bit of a suggestion from Mr. Funnell, and so we talked about it because obviously you have the Kiwanis Market in, what is it, Victoria Park or the Cheese Museum Park, so we'll be able to have people funnel down and then go into Memorial Park for the show. So we will probably, I'm guessing, open gates at like 5:30, 6 p.m. I'm looking for the high school band probably to go on, let's say 7:30 to 8, 15-minute changeover. Sarah Smith will play till about 9. Helix will come on from, till about 10:30, quarter to 11, right? And then we may even do the Gimme an R, Gimme an O, the Rock You with all the bands on stage, one big massive sing-along. I'm gonna talk to the Fusion Center about running around with some handy cams and making a documentary out of this. I've talked to the audio guys, maybe they'll record it. Maybe we can release, Small Town Big Dreams, Helix Live in Ingersoll on CD. Okay, I mean, everything is possible. We just need to book the band before they get booked, is basically what I've been dealing with, because every day the singer calls me and he's like, hey, we just got booked. Is this your date? And I'm like, no. Okay, so that's what I've been dealing with, my heartstrings pulling, right? So I just want to make sure that we do that, and then I'm fully prepared to do the rest.
We'll be, I think as the Canterbury Folk Fest, they had people walking around. Because this is free, we're going to have people walking around, volunteers, with donations. And I'm not sure what Canterbury got, but generally, if it's a well-received event, the donations are significant, so it does help.
Councilor Halloran, please.
So question, what would it take right now for you to confirm a booking?
I'm supposed to, Helix wants half the budget, which is 7,500. Now, originally, I was told I was getting 5,000 from two different places, and the town had 10, and the BIA has 10. So that would be 20. So that's basically, that 20 right there will get this into play. I don't know, what was it, 3 weeks ago? Councillor Rick and Brian, Mayor Petrie, we went around on a mission to talk to people, and the response, I walked into so many people that I went to high school with that are now in positions running places that were like, yes, Jay, because they knew me from high school, they knew that I played in bands and stuff. So it seems like the overall, everybody wants to support. So I think even with a bunch of small money donated, we're gonna come. I'm guessing probably for around 50, this whole thing will be taken care of. Anything over that is for next year.
So 7,500 and you can confirm the date?
7,500, and I'm gonna have, so yesterday we didn't know each other were going, but I went to see my sister Sarah Smith in Petrolia, Gordon Lightfoot tribute, go if you got it. She filmed the video for me, said, hi, I'm Sarah Smith. I'm looking forward to playing the first ever Good for the Soul Festival. I got it on video. I want to bring Brian here from Helix. He's going to sign the contract with whoever the contract is signed with, and we're going to film a video saying, I'm Brian Ballmer from Helix, and I'm coming there so to rock you. And that's the start of the social media campaign. I have the logo, the website designed, all of the above. Obviously need to fine tune it, but I don't want to go all the way until I know everything's confirmed.
Good. Heart FM from
Heart
Woodstock.
FM has reached out. The BATS has offered me considerations for sponsorship, but I haven't been able to act on it because I don't want to burn the bridge until everything's confirmed.
So all I'm asking now is you need
I
7,500 to
need
confirm them.
7,500 for Helix to sign. Sarah, I can pay for her tickets on my credit card and get reimbursed later because she lives in BC. I'm going to fly her here. She's going to hire a band here to play.
And you don't have 7,500?
I don't have 7,500. I wish I did.
So is this an open call to the community for sponsorships? And also an ask of the town?
Yes.
Okay.
Further questions? Deputy Mayor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. This is very exciting. It's nice to see people trying to come together and provide an opportunity for the community, so thank you for that. I'm just curious, I think you said for 50, this can happen? That's kind of your
bands, the
goal?
stage, the lighting,
Yep.
basically what we need to get this event
Yep.
off the ground. Obviously, we're going to need wristbands, we're going to need
Yep.
laminates for staff. I've also got permission from Helix to use their logo on an event shirt, and this event shirt the proceeds will be used to raise money for the event as well. So we do have the sponsorship packages, which I will put your business logo on the backs of the shirts. I've got a TV commercial that my company produced. I'm just waiting for who the sponsors are to drop their logos inside. I run Studio 73 Digital Media, so I do social media management and stuff. So I'm going to make sure that every corner of southwestern Ontario knows that Helix is playing in Ingersoll with Sarah Smith, and we're going to build this community up, is what I hope.
Okay. So my question was, of that 50,
Yeah.
you mentioned the 7,500 is kind of what you need to get
That's half of Helix's bill.
Okay.
So I just need to get because right now it's booking seasons, right? So they're getting booked on festivals, they're going out west in a couple weeks. I have a show with them in London, we have a show with them in Delhi, we have a show with them in the Blythe Theatre. So they're starting to get booked, and I just don't want them to be booked on that date.
Yeah, that's fine.
Is that good?
I guess my question was, how much do you have secured like today that you can make this event happen out of that 50?
The town has 10 and the BIA has 10. They've been talking about is what we've talked. The Lions Club has 5. And I believe the Rotary Club is still going to sponsor 5.
Further questions?
So that'd be 30 out of the 50.
Yeah, okay.
And then we just need 20 from the public, which, like I said, I was in Delhi today and the Pure Spirit said, put me down for 1,000, and they're not even in town.
Further questions of the delegation? Councillor Hughes.
So just to clarify for everybody, you're here tonight asking for $10,000 from the town of Ingersoll seed money for this event.
Yes.
Okay, for August 24th, okay. Yes, and then you would have to present to the BIA to get their approval.
I believe the BIA is already approved. These are just formalities, but I'm not sure. I don't want to speak out of turn.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Councillor Halleru.
I have a question for staff. Irina, I have a question for Irina. Sorry. So in instances like this where this is not something that is in the budget, or is there room, or is there some specific funding that things like this get considered from?
Well, we haven't considered that through our budget. However, it all depends on the amount. We do have like meals and promotions, special events budget, so we can most likely tap into that budget for $7,500 we can, or $10,000.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Councillor Hudson.
Hey, thanks, Jay. Does that 50,000 include like all the security and the washrooms and staging? So that's everything?
That's the plan right now, yes. Sarah's going to be 4, Helix will be 15, and so that's 19, the stage and lights. So I think we came up to like 38 for stage, lights, all of that stuff. Now, I need to go see, Rick gave me of who to go see for the porta potties and stuff. I'm going to go try to get sponsorship. I'm hoping maybe to talk to Councillor Mike about doing the booklets and stuff in that sort of aspect through Mill Creek. Some things like that. So that's what I'm hoping. You know, this is a first for all of us, right? So I want to work for it, but yes.
So if I can add to that, there has been assistance of a working group to try to make sure to see where this is going. And the budget, there is a budget where items have been accounted for, including, like you mentioned, security porta potties, and that has all been accounted for 50,000. Any further questions?
Wait, tell that to my heart. It's beating so fast right now.
I don't see any other questions. Thank you very much for your presentation, and yeah, I won't say rock on yet. Well, okay, because this wasn't, we don't have an allocated motion here to us tonight. Is that correct?
Maybe I should make note that the beer garden should pay for any expenses that it has to do. Like if there's expenses for the fence, any expenses that we accrue, we will pay out of our money before. And then if there's over $1,000, I'm just throwing $1,000 out, but we want to make a little bit of money so that we have some money for the community, because it's all coming back to the community. That's all we do. But you know, the COVID knocked the devil out of us, and we're trying to rebuild our club and get things rolling again. So, but this is for Ingersoll. So.
Excellent. Oh. Okay. Okay. So, thank you very much for your presentation, and then we will we'll see some logistic stuff work out here, and then we'll have a motion put on the floor of some sort here.
Thank you, everyone, for your time.
Thank you.
Listening. Thank you.
Can I ask for a recess for 5 minutes? Councillor Hughes and Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens, discussion? All those in favor? Approved? Thank you. We'll call us back to order. I believe Councillor Hughes has a resolution.
I do, thank you. Mayor, move by myself, Councillor Hughes, and I'll let you call for second. That the Council of the Corporation of Town of Ingersoll receive the information, the delegation from, the delegation from Charlie Hullett on behalf of the Ingersoll Lions Club requesting funds for a community event to be held on August 24th, 2024. And that the town support with a sponsorship of $10,000, and that the town declare the event as an event of municipal significance. And that the event has the use of Memorial Park from Friday, August 23rd to Sunday, August 25th. And further, that council receive regular updates from the Lions Club and event organizers.
There's seconder for the motion. Councillor Halleru, thank you. Discussion. Deputy Mayor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. This might be a silly question, but what is implied by designating it an event of municipal significance?
So I can speak to that. For order to get a special events permit, so for charities or service clubs to be able to run the bar portion of it, it has to be designated event. So that's just one step out of the way that allows them to proceed with that application. Further questions or comments? Councillor Van Kouten-Bosens?
The regular updates, can I make a suggestion of a friendly amendment of that it includes the budget, the letter that was supposed to have come to us, and any other documents as well? Just only saying updates for me doesn't specify enough. Sorry. And I'll make that motion as an amendment that it includes those three things. I will have to write. Sorry. Can you pass me a piece of paper?
Oh.
Unless you want to make it as a friendly amendment.
Well, we'd rather have it as, yeah.
Okay, an amendment, gotcha.
So just for clarification, here, be clear, it's the budget?
Budget, as a part of the regular updates. The letter that was supposed to have been included, but wasn't because of the fact that it was a delegation request and we had to vote on it. And
Sorry, just to clarify, would you like that letter or would you like the updated one from the Lions?
either one,
Okay.
both. How's that sound? Take both, I don't really care. But I would like some letter. I want some documentation. How's that sound? So I'll put that in. So documentation, budget, and any memo of understandings that come out. How's that sound?
Can I also add the letter to the agenda, the minutes?
Sorry?
I can add the letter to the minutes.
Yes, that would be great, yeah. Anyone want to second my motion? Perfect.
Discussion on the motion?
While Councillor Van Kouten-Bosens is scribbling that out, I think it's important just, due to process, we got no documentation, and that's not a criticism, and that's not to say that, I can't speak for my peers, that we aren't very excited and supportive, but just in terms of being responsible about the decision we're about to make, just having kind of some documents to back up the decision, and to keep the town kind of in the loop and communicating and supportive of the event throughout the process.
I think that's very fair. I think the organizers tonight were open and transparent with any numbers, and I don't think that's going to be a problem. Certainly, they want this to be a good event for the community, so there shouldn't be a problem. Further discussion on the amendment? Councillor Halleru?
Yeah, it's definitely important for us to have documentation. I would love to see reports on how effective the money would be for their use, and like we're expecting a report anyways, like you said. This is obviously something that is exciting to a lot of people. We're a strategic town, strategically located. It will bring boots on the ground for small businesses. And I do agree with the fact that it has some significance as a municipal attraction, and that's why it's exciting. But again, we need reporting on how the money was used and how perhaps we could maybe reflect on next time if that money was enough and if it was put to good use.
Excellent. Further discussion? Councillor Hughes.
Yeah, absolutely, agreeing with everybody else. It's still $10,000 of taxpayers' money that we have to be accountable for, absolutely. And if it's a scenario that requires that reporting, as we, in a lot of cases, request back from other service clubs when we are putting money towards specific functions that they're handling. So definitely, I totally agree with the reporting back on the, that has been brought, or going to be brought forward through this next motion.
Further discussion? All in favor of the amendment? Opposed? That is carried. And now to the amended motion. Any further discussion? Deputy Mayor Wilson, please.
Thank you, Mayor Petrie. A question for staff. If the groups request in-kind support from staff, can staff provide that without council direction? Like if they ask for staff to move picnic tables, like do we need to sort that out now as well, or are staff free to do that on their own accord?
Mr. Graves.
Yeah, I'll start, and Kyle may have to clarify. We do have the special events process that has to be entered into, and it details what the needs are. We were asked this question the other day, and we don't know entirely the specifics, so it's difficult for us to predict what our involvement is. But from time to time, for the special events, how they set up and stuff will involve the town putting in certain, facilities and amenities and so on. So we would likely be doing that as a part of our normal course of business anyway, as per through the special event process, and maybe Kyle could give some specifics.
Yeah, essentially we haven't got to this stage of the process yet because they were still trying to line everything up. But as we evolve through the special event process, that's how we become involved on whatever is requested of us on that day. But we don't know what's requested of us yet because they haven't got to that stage of the event yet, but we're ready to help in any way. We just need to know how. We just haven't got there yet.
And to clarify, there is forms for if you require and the cost and fees associated with those. So yeah, there's quite, if anybody hasn't looked at the special events process, there's quite an involved item that kind of takes into account every different scenario, I imagine, and staff provides the documents for that to be filled out, much like a site plan control process for an event. But Councillor Halloran.
All right, it's nice to see all the excitement, but I wonder, have we considered the crowd? Are we prepared? Is this something that we will work with them to the end to make sure we are in control of what that crowd will look like and whether we need support from the OPP and all of that?
So again, that's all part of the special events process. There's forms for safety plans, there's forms for different layouts and all that stuff to make sure that's all taken into consideration. And the feedback received from those reports, whether it be the fire department, the police, will inform the needs of that depending on the expected attendance of that and the capacity of what that venue is. But certainly, staff have anything to add to that? Seeing none. Further questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Wilson, please.
Thank you. One more through you. I suppose maybe for next time, communicating that we would like the request for next year to ideally come through this upcoming budget process. So maybe if that could be communicated just to kind of help them make their plans, hopefully this is coming again next year, but sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. So if that could be communicated with them as well, so they have that information for next time, that would be very helpful for council as well.
I think this would be a grand learning process for them. I appreciate the enthusiasm they're showing, and I think the community will as well, and hopefully get behind this. Certainly, it's one of those things that, yeah, from a planning perspective, it would be a lot better if we had a little more notice for sure. But I can tell you by communicating with this group, there's a lot of moving pieces, and they've put a lot of things into play to make sure that there's an opportunity here. So I appreciate council's indulgence to hear the delegation and have a motion put on the floor. So further questions, discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? I think that's officially a rock on. And everybody can go home and Google Helix. You'll know them. Okay, with that, we can now move on to bylaws. And Deputy Mayor Wilson, you have committee to go on the whole of the bylaws.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Bowman, that the mover have leave to introduce and go into committee of the whole on the following bylaws. 1, bylaw 24-5318, amend zoning bylaw 04-4160 ARUs. 2, bylaw 24-5319, facade revitalization loan agreement, 188 Thames Street South. 3, bylaw 24-5320, facade revitalization loan agreement, 120 Thames Street South. Where am I here? 4, bylaw 24-5321, facility revitalization loan agreement, 146 Thames Street South. 5, bylaw 24-5322, facade revitalization loan agreement, 124 Thames Street South. 6, bylaw 24-5323, development charges bylaw. 7, bylaw 24-5324, facade revitalization loan agreement, 122 Thames Street South. 8, bylaw 24-5325, June 10th, June 3rd, and May 14th, 2024 confirmation bylaw. Council in the committee of the whole, Mayor Petrie in the chair. On motion, the bylaws are accepted as circulated. That constitutes the first and second reading of the bylaws.
Thank you very much. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. We're now in committee of the whole. Would anybody like to discuss any of those bylaws? Seeing none, Councillor Bowman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, moved by myself, Councillor Bowman, seconded by Councillor Hudson, that the committee now rise out of committee of the whole.
Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councillor Hudson, third reading, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hughes, that bylaws 24-5318 to 24-5325 be now read a third time, passed, signed, and sealed, and that this constitutes the third reading of the bylaws.
All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And Councillor Hughes to adjourn, please.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. Moved by myself, Councillor Hughes, seconded by Councillor Hellerue, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll adjourn the June 10th, 2024 regular meeting at 8:19 p.m.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And it's still light outside.